Our fourth signing of the summer has been confirmed today. George Thomason, the 24-year-old midfielder, becomes Phil Parkinson's latest recruit in the summer transfer window. The young midfielders put pen to paper to sign for Wrexham in a deal worth up to £1.2 million. Today we're going to be discussing everything regarding the fourth signing of the transfer window for Wrexham Football Club. But before we get to talking about this transfer, like I say, every video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham content, it's going to be on this channel over the course of the summer. All the transfer news, all the news regarding the upcoming championship season, everything will be on this channel. Make sure to click the red subscribe button, turn the notification bell on as well so you are notified every time a new video comes your way. And let's go for 600 likes for the signing of George Thomason. And without further ado, let's get reviewing our latest recruit. So starting off with a bit of a profile on George Thomason. Now Thomason was at Bolton Wanderers, the club who signed him from, for the previous 5 seasons, where he did total 169 appearances, and across the way he did also register 29 goal contributions in his 5-year stint at the football club. In his first season, Thomason did actually win Young Player of the Season, and ever since he did win that award, he's become sort of a regular in the starting 11 and just in the matchday squad in general for Bolton Wanderers. Signing under Ian Evatt, he really showed faith in him, really gave him that game time from such a young age. I think he signed for Bolton when he was 19 years old, and he was chucked immediately into that starting 11. I think that was the right idea, because over the course of his spell at Bolton, season by season, he's obviously totaled more games in the season, registered more goals and assists as time has gone on. So I think it was good to get him in that squad from a really young age, and to bring him in obviously to a League 2 season, what they were at the time, I think was a really good idea from Ian Evatt, because he's really flourished and has really just become a key player in the midfield for Bolton Wanderers over the past few seasons. And in terms of numbers as well, I think the past 2 seasons for Thomason in a Bolton shirt were really good in terms of numbers. Like I said, 80 league games out of 92 under his belt, and 24 goals and assists along the way. And it was clear to see that he was a key player in the setup at Bolton under Ian Evatt. But since then, Steven Schumacher has come in, and it's clear to see that it's not going to be a big loss in his terms, losing George Thomason this summer transfer window, because you're looking at his goals and assists for a central midfielder and the games that he has played in such a competitive league. You'd think the price tag would possibly be higher, especially with his age as well at 24 years old. So he obviously isn't the player that he wants in that system in the midfield, and they're looking to offload him, and £1.2 million could become a really good bit of business as obviously the championship season progresses for Wrexham. 24 years old, like I said, he's got plenty of goal contributions, even though that's not really his game, George Thomason. I think that's something that can only be a bonus in terms of this signing, and there is a high chance that he could come to Wrexham and Phil Parkinson could get the best out of him. And could his full potential be unlocked at Wrexham? We'll have to wait and see on that front. What can we expect then from George Thomason in the Wrexham midfield, and what can we expect from Thomason as a player newly signing for Wrexham Football Club? Now I think it's always good to see what the Bolton fans are saying on social media, and having read the opinions on them on the Twitter post, it seems to be pretty mixed in terms of their opinions. I think obviously the transfer fee, £1.2 million, is having a massive influence on some of their fans' views, because it seems as if that £1.2 million to them is a really good bit of business, and you wouldn't really expect that at 24 years old. Of course, like I said, with the games under his belt, with goal contributions, let's have a look why they obviously are thinking that way about this sort of low transfer fee for a player with such high potential. Now, having looked at their opinions again, it seems like Thomason is a player that has a really good engine in that midfield, will always put 101% in that midfield, will cover a lot of ground. However, some fans are saying that his performances in a Bolton shirt have been very inconsistent, and he does have a mistake in his game every so often. So I think that's definitely worth noting. Of course, going up a league into the championship for Thomason, it's going to be a very high demanding league. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform whenever he does play in that midfield for Wrexham. So if he can get those mistakes out of his game, of course, I imagine he's going to be good on the ball if he's playing regularly for a team like Bolton Wanderers, who are competing at the top end of League One. A good engine in the midfield. We're getting shades of Ollie Wthbone in this situation. So if he can cover that ground, just like I said, put 100% in, just be that constant runner in the midfield, then I wouldn't really have an issue with his possible mistake every so often. And I think as well, it's definitely worth noting what Bolton fans are saying on his performances. They feel like his performances have peaked at Bolton Wanderers. His development isn't going to get any better at them, and under a new manager, they're saying his game could be taken to the next level and his full potential could be reached. And we've got a good manager in Phil Parkinson. We've seen him so many times. Players have been brought in. The Wrexham fans and the opposition fans that obviously the club he's just left are sort of got mixed opinions on him. We're seeing a 24-year-old midfielder who's got years and years ahead of him, and there's definitely a high chance that he hasn't reached his ceiling yet. So, like I said, the only analogy I can sort of think of is like Ollie Wthbone. You know, Wthbone came in from Rotherham. There wasn't too much, you know, spotlight on him. The spotlight wasn't on Ollie Wthbone. I think he was our record transfer signing at the time, but there wasn't too much expectation on him. There wasn't too much sort of joy from Wrexham fans when we did see Ollie Wthbone signed, and there was a lot of mixed opinions from both sets of fans, but by the end of the season, he was the player that everyone was talking about. Phil Parkinson in the system at Wrexham got the complete best out of Ollie Wthbone. It was his best season in terms of goals and assists, his probably best season in terms of just performances, regular game time, and to be honest, I can sort of see a similar situation happening with George Thomason. He's coming into Wrexham, a setup where he's going to be playing with better players. Parky and the staff there are going to get the best out of him, and I think that's definitely an important thing to add. The fact he is going to be playing in a better squad. It's going to be more demanding. It's going to be a challenging environment at Wrexham. We're going up into the Championship. It's a fresh manager that he's going to be playing under, so we could see the best out of George Thomason in a Wrexham shirt, and it wouldn't surprise me once he does settle in, have that pre-season for Wrexham. I think we're going to have 2 more fixtures until our opening game away at Southampton, so he'll have a good 2.5, 3 weeks to prepare with the squad. And there's clearly something that Phil Parkinson does like about George Thomason, that he obviously can see him developing into a good midfielder and see him becoming a midfielder that could be a starter in this Wrexham team in the Championship. And I don't know if it's fair, obviously, to take the Bolton fans' opinions on George Thomason, because a lot of fans are saying they used him as a scapegoat last season for some of their poor performances. So could a fresh environment at Wrexham, you know, the fans will be behind him from day one. I would like to see George Thomason do well in a Wrexham shirt, because if we can unlock that potential that he obviously does have in terms of seeing his performances, a regular game in, game out for Bolton, his goals and assists to his name, then I think he can become a good player for us. And I think a really interesting situation regarding George Thomason going into this season is there a chance that he could jump straight into that midfield for our opening away game away at Southampton? We've seen the injuries to Ollie Wthbone. Andy Cannon isn't going to return anytime soon. We're seeing George Evans' future still undecided at Wrexham. There could be a spot in that starting 11 for George Thomason come that opening game against Southampton. So that's an interesting situation. If we had Wthbone fit, if we had Cannon fit, and if George Evans was in this squad, I can't see George Thomason coming straight in for that game. But given the injuries, of course, to 2 of our key midfielders in Cannon and Wthbone, it sort of leaves us a bit thin in midfield. And I think off the top of my head, we've got Matty James, we've got Elliot Lee that could probably play in that centre midfield role. There's only a select few players that could come into that midfield and do the role of Andy Cannon and Ollie Wthbone. So that'll be an interesting situation. Phil Parkinson, if that is the case, will want to get him straight into the matchday squad, get him playing that 180 minutes in pre-season for us, and just really settling in with the group, because it's a massive opening day fixture. And if George Thomason is going to come into the team for that game, he has to be ready. So I'm really interested to see how this signing does pan out, because you're looking at the opinion from Bolton Wanderers fans, it seems to be mixed. But for Wrexham, like I said, there seems to be something that Phil Parkinson likes about George Thomason, that he feels he can take him to that next level. He feels like that potential for him has possibly not been unlocked yet. So let's hope that could be the case at Wrexham, because like Libby Kakache, I think we was talking about it on the video the other day, they're a similar age. If they can get the best out of him, you've got a midfielder there that could be in this Wrexham squad for the next 3-4 seasons and become a consistent performer for us. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this signing in the comment section down below. In my opinion, I'm liking it. It's £1.2 million. It's not an awful lot of money for a midfielder that, of course, is still relatively young, 24 years old, has a lot of League One experience under his belt. Like I said, if it all plans out like Phil Parkinson wants it to at the end of the day, and if we can get the best out of George Thomason, that £1.2 million could become a really good bit of business. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. It's probably going to be one of 2 big signings for Wrexham this week, and you'll also see another video coming out. They might announce the 2 signings on the same day, if not one today and one tomorrow. So like I said, make sure to subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you are notified when these transfer videos do come onto the channel. And until then, take care guys, up the town.